Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Fantasy Commander, which is brought to you by Signum Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and games generally run about 30 to 90 minutes. In Fantasy Commander, you will take part in the epic clash within the Signum world, take control of the armies of the fantastic creatures and glorified heroes. Although the game is basically a 2-player game, even more participants can get involved in the additional modes. Moreover, you will have a unique opportunity to go through the single-player campaign and thus master the basic rules. Throughout the game, you can easily change the structure of your army or include various advantage cards of your faction into the battle deck. While during the battle itself, you can flexibly change your strategy, adjusting to the circumstances and even changing terrains on the game map at your discretion. Act quickly, decisively, and simultaneously, and watch out because every step that you take can bring a victory closer or deprive you of your well-deserved crown. So, this is a published game. I did do a preview during the campaign with the prototype, so it's really nice to get eyes on a published version and all the final details, like the miniatures, so much more detailed than the prototype was, and all the unit cards and unit tokens, everything that you're looking at, higher quality for sure. And the thing I love about this game in general is that it is a true sandbox game. You can literally set up scenarios all you want. You can do all kinds of different point values for the armies, mix and match different units and so forth as you engage in battles. It's really interesting how they put this system together, and it's pretty easy to engage with. Once you learn the basic rules, it is very intuitive on what you'll be doing next. And of course, there are several game modes in Fantasy Commander which differ in the style of play and the objective assigned to you. First up, we have the scenario mode, and this really is the easiest way to learn the game. You choose one of the available scenarios and follow specified conditions. In order to start the scenario game, you can use either the recommended armies or create your own armies, which is awesome, without going beyond the point limit, of course. The goal of the game, you have to achieve the specified number of victory points faster than your opponent. Next up is the Epic Battle Mode. In this mode, you can make the army roster and tactics deck yourself. You can also place the terrain hexes on the game map at your discretion, or use the initially prepared map from any of the scenarios. So in this mode, you have the maximum freedom, and it is recommended for players who are already familiar with the basics, obviously, and the goal of the game. You must completely eliminate your opponent's army. And lastly, we have the standalone campaign, which is probably my favorite way to play this game. This mode is perfect for those heroes who are not afraid to challenge fate, getting into long adventures full of danger. Here you have to fortify your settlement and repel the enemy raids, going through multiple related scenarios. Although your goals may change from one mission to another, the eventual victory in the campaign will be determined by the reputation earned and the well-being of your town. So there are many ways to play this game. Again, along with a sandbox feel of creating your own scenarios and your own setup. Really fantastic what they've done here to put this system together. And again, it is really an easy game to engage with, and I like that aspect for sure. And of course, you're gonna have all these different armies, and what I like about the armies is that they give you a choice. Maybe you're not into miniatures, you do have unit token cards that you can place out on the battlefield and move around. And what's nice about these unit tokens is the fact that you have all the stats right here available as you're engaging out in the battlefield. But as you lose units from these cards, some of them will have multiple units, right? So you'll mark it off on the card itself. Where if you're using the miniatures, you just remove miniatures from the board to show who has been fought and defeated and so forth. So I like that aspect. They've really improved what these tokens look like, and just the card stock and the token quality, it's fantastic. The world you're fighting in and trying to conquer is basically this hex grid. And you'll have various setups here, from the scenarios to the campaign and so forth. And also, as you set up your own worlds and maps, you'll be using these terrain tiles. Several tiles to choose from, and with all various different types of effects. First we have rocks, which is just basically impassable and blocks line of sight. And then we have forests. Forests are great because if you're in a forest, you can reduce the damage coming at you because you're hiding in a forest, right? But it also will block line of sight. And you've got hills, which also have the ability to block line of sight. But the thing is, if you're in the hills, you get a +1 to your melee attack because you have the high ground. And then there are rivers, which are impassable. But there are fords as well as bridges that can get you over these rivers. So however you want to set those up in your scenarios and your campaigns and so forth. And finally, there are cities. Yes, in a city, you're going to be somewhat protected, but it also will allow you to rest, regain health, and units. So that's a fantastic thing to visit, as you need to quite frequently in this game. And you have a couple different books. Obviously you have your main basic rules to be going through, but in the back of this book, you will have all those scenarios that we talked about as one of your game modes and how to set them up and everything you need to know about them. But what's really cool is the campaign book, and this campaign is And the Darkness Fell. So within here though, you'll find several new things about the campaign, like you have scenario cards, which contain town cards and scenario, like you'll find an inn, or you might encounter a fog that is deadly and so forth. So you'll do activations of those cards and so forth. But through the course of playing this, there are also some special terrain tokens that you'll be using as well. So you follow along, it's very easy setup, the maps are clear, exactly what you need to do on each one of these. Now, you also have escalation cards, so if you don't beat a campaign scenario, so to say, one of the missions you're on, you'll have to start to draw those escalation cards and do what it says on those. And as you complete missions within the campaign, you have this mission report that you'll fill out for all the completed aspects that you've gone through, towns and so forth. So the thing here is that you will keep track of where you are in the game, so to say. And I'm not going to dive too deep into any of the campaign stuff. I'll show you a little bit, but the thing here is that it does a nice thematic story on the back of the book. But what I really like about it is that based on the events of what happened within the game, you'll see that there are different choices to be made based on how well you've done and so forth. So that adds a lot of really neat aspect and replayability to this overall campaign. So each game you play will come down to a series of rounds, which are divided into 3 phases. First, we have the command phase, and during this phase, you will generate order tokens and distribute them among your units. And then we have the action phase, and this is the meat of the game for sure. You're activating units on the game map in accordance to the color of the orders you distributed them. And units with red orders are always going to be first to activate, then you do the blue ones, and then you have the green orders. The last to be activated are going to be the yellow orders. Before activating each unit though, you must play the top tactic card from your deck. And then we end with the end of the turn phase. And all the effects that were active obviously will end. And then you will discard any remaining order tokens that you had for that particular round. So that's just a high-level look at what you're doing in a round. Now those command tokens that you're doing in the first phase are going to really dictate which units you're using first and so forth, right? So you'll see that on your unit cards, on the far right is your command, and that's related directly to those command tokens. Some have set tokens, like your heroes or your leaders, and then you've got infantry that might have a dice roll needed to determine where they fall within the structure of attacking and so forth. So taking a close look at this cleric card, you'll see on the far left at the bottom in red is the size or health of the army. And then we have our attack ability in blue, and green is our defense. Purple is only there if it's a ranged attack they're capable of, and what their movement is kind of this brown color, and then finally this kind of cyan blue is their stamina. So those are the main stats that you're going to be dealing with through each round of the game. So as you activate units, you will also be drawing and using tactic cards. So tactic cards will get set up at the start of the game and so forth, but these cards will do various things for you. Some fall within the command structure when they activate, like a red triangle or a blue diamond, or you might find a special terrain tactic, like with this magic spire, and place that token, or not token, but its terrain tile out on the board, and this card becomes active for that particular spot. But you also can get cursed cards. Cursed cards, though, do not hurt you, but instead you will place them in your opponent's discard pile, basically junking up their deck and giving them some consequences for pulling these cursed cards. And when you do engage in battle, you'll be rolling dice. Based on your attack level and your defense level, you'll be rolling these dice. And there's several different symbols here. For attacking, obviously you want the swords. A single sword will only hurt the unit if they're weakened. A double sword will always hurt units. Obviously shields, shield is blocking. And then you also have a red symbol here with a foot. And this one is all about scaring your opponents. They're basically in full retreat. You have freaked them out so heavily. And then the special icon will do damage if the attacking unit has support. So all the symbols on this dice will be used through the course of the battles and play, but those are the basics around what you're going to be doing. Obviously, based on the scenario, the campaign you're playing may have other types of scenario-specific things you're going to be doing, but in general, you're going to be attacking units and trying to take them out. Alright folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here is done and published. This game is ready to go, And they have just released a new Hobgoblin army, which I can't wait to get my hands on and play. Now, some of these miniatures are going to have some assembly, and you'll probably want to paint them. That's not really one of my skill sets, but just the ability to see what they had in the prototype to this published version, I feel very lucky, because generally I'm just dealing with prototypes. So they've done a really nice job. From the miniatures, the detail here is fantastic, along with the card stock and the tokens. Really a fantastic looking game. And again, I really love the aspect of it being a sandbox style game. Multiple ways to play, and how you put together your armies, and the tactic cards, and everything you're doing with the terrain just makes this game something complete and almost have that RPG-esque feel to it, even though it is a war game. But folks, ultimately, if it looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.